If you're an entrepreneur or sales professional and you're not using AI and automation, your business is already falling behind. Welcome to the Done by One podcast. My name is Danielle Damianov, where we break down how modern businesses are using AI and automation and systems to scale faster without working longer hours. On this show, I interview business owners, operators, and industry leaders who are actually implementing AI, not just talking about it. We cut through the hype and we focus on what works, what doesn't, and what you need to start doing now. Because the gap between businesses that automate and those that don't is getting wider every day. If you are ready to future-proof your business and stop doing everything manually, you are in the right place. So let's dive in. Hey everybody, it's Danielle Damianov with Done by One, and I am so excited to have DJ Carroll on today, aka Coach Carroll, who is a speaker, best-selling author. His book, The Hunter Head Game, just came out in October, so we're definitely going to be covering some of that. And he is founder of Carroll Media Corp. So thank you so much for being on today, Coach Carroll.
Yeah, thanks, Danielle. Excited to be here and share with your audience.
Yes. So I want to hear all about, let's get started with the book, because when I look at the name, The Hunter Head Game, I don't really know what that is. Like, I'm thinking of, some fictional book or whatever. So tell us a lot about what that book is.
Yeah. So it was actually meant to be designed to look very like old world, right? And so it's kind of got these eyes and it's like a flat back black cover, but the byline is the old world rewarded obedience. The new world demands killer instincts. And something your audience is very aware of is there's this little old thing called artificial intelligence that's taking the world by storm right now. And I think that, guys like myself and you is like, we've been telling people for years, like, entrepreneurship is awesome. You should be an entrepreneur, right? It's great. But it's up until this point, it's really been looked at as like a nice to have. Like, okay, well, cool, man. You got to be an entrepreneur. You bet on yourself and you went and chased your dreams. Daniel, I think in the next 36 months, entrepreneurship is going to go from a nice to have to a means of last resort for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. If you work in a call center and you're 52 years old and you get laid off, like, guess what? The call center across town laid everybody off as well. They're using AI too. And so your job is essentially gone. And so what I'm encouraging people, and the reason why I dropped the book when I did, is I think that entrepreneurship, proprietorship is not a word you hear very often, but used to be a thing. And like when you start your first business, it's technically a sole proprietorship, right? Most of the times. I wrote this book to kind of talk about the head game that comes along with entrepreneurship, because it's only about 20% skill, knowledge, and training. It's 80% a head game. It's waking up knowing that you don't have enough money in the bank, but you got to make payroll today. What are you going to do, right? Or you do some cold calling and you get 27 no's in a row. Are you going to make call number 28, or are you going to give up, right? And so this book was really fun to write because I wrote it over 10 years. And I'll tell you and your audience, I'm a little vulnerable here, but I'm dyslexic. And so I was never supposed to write a book, right? Dyslexic people don't write books. And so I basically journaled, if you will, for about a decade of stories and ideas and thoughts and lessons from being an entrepreneur for almost 20 years. And I used ChatGPT and Claude to help me edit the book. I went through 3 human editors and I was like, this is terrible. I wanted to gouge my eyes out. But with using Claude and ChatGPT, I was able to take my 500-page manuscript and whittle it down and distill it down into 260 pages, which is what the book is now. And so, we're super excited. We sold thousands of copies, and we actually just got picked up by Barnes & Noble's a couple weeks ago. And so, you guys can get it. You can go to CoachCarroll.com. There's a link on there, but it's a great book. And I'll tell you something else that's really cool is in the AI space, because I'm dyslexic, I said, hey, 260 pages is a lot for a lot of people to digest in a business book or a personal development book. And so we custom trained an AI model that you get free with the book so that you can chat with the book. So you say, hey, what's Coach say about resilience? Tell me about a time Coach had a loss, right? And like it will pull stories and anecdotes from the book itself and give them to you in real time. So that was a pretty cool part of the project.
That is awesome. So let me ask you, when did you start the book? Because we all know that ChatGPT has been around for several years, but I feel like people are just hearing about it. I teach a lot of classes on like how to master ChatGPT and stuff like that. And people really have no idea what everything that it can do. And then Claude,
Yeah.
which is, you're hearing a lot about Claude now, right?
Yeah.
So when did you start using both of those AI platforms?
So I hopped on really early. It was November of 2022.
Mhm.
I saw the press release come out about Dolly, which was the image generation. And so Carroll Media Corp for a decade now has been helping small businesses, small service businesses build a personal brand. Because in a lot of small businesses, you know this, it's like the person that drives the business needs to be the brand, or you need to have some type of like mascot or figure or something, right? That will be that person. But you need to have some type of a personal brand attached to your business, just the world we live in. And so when I saw ChatGPT come out with Dolly, which was image generation, and I was like, holy smokes, if this thing can make images, like this is going to revolutionize how we do social media content for our clients. And I
Mhm.
really was hoping that it could up the level of performance we could do. And so I hopped on there November 2022, and Danielle, I was like, draw me a picture of a family standing in front of a house. And as it like loaded down the screen really slowly, their faces were melting, their fingers were real long and skinny, like the house was all wonky in the background. And I said, okay, it's not there yet, but there's a term that I live by, which is technology is undefeated. Okay. And so I knew that it wasn't an if, it was just a win. And so I went to my team and I said, hey, we've got to hop on this and we've got to be an AI first company because this is kind of like the internet coming out. It's not going to go away. It's not going to be a fad. There might be a stock market bubble or correction, but like there was a .com stock market, bubble or
Oh
correction.
yeah.
Guess what? We all still have the internet. Okay. The technology doesn't go away just because the financials get a little choppy. And so, we went hard after that. And then Claude, we probably got on Claude a year and a half ago. Because let's see. Yeah, it would have been because I'd started the editing process early last year and I used Claude for that. So I would have been on it before it. So late 2024. So a couple years later, I was on Claude. And a lot of people don't know this. This is a fun story for your audience. Dario and Daniela are brother and sister, and they run Anthropic, which is the company that built Claude. They used to be head researchers at OpenAI.
Oh wow.
And when Sam Altman was going to raise the $1 billion round for ChatGPT and take it public so that people could get access to it via API, Dario came in with his like team of 12 people and they said, hey, this thing's not ready. It's making inappropriate images. It's telling people to commit suicide. Like it is not ready. And Sam Altman was like, okay, sounds good. We'll hold off on it. And then like within the next couple of weeks, he goes and raises the $1 billion round and they took it out to the public. And so that made Dario go, the ethics are not in the right spot here. Like somebody's going to get hurt. And two people have committed suicide that we know of because chatbots have told them to do that. And
Wow.
so there's lawsuits against ChatGPT right now. But that made Dario and Daniela leave and go start Anthropic. And so what I think is my bet is on them as well as Grok, because I don't think you can bet against Elon. Elon has an axe to grind as well because he was one of the first investors with Sam Altman, and then Sam Altman was like turned it from a nonprofit to a for-profit, basically kicked Elon out. And so for me, I'm like, all right, you got one team that's like their heart's in the right place, and I think that really drives business in a good way. And then you got another guy like Elon Musk that is arguably one of the smartest people in the world, and like also super fucking rich. So it's like I wouldn't bet against him either. And so yeah, for me, like these models are amazing, the business is amazing, and I would just encourage your audience that's listening. If you picked up ChatGPT in 2023, 2024, and you said, "Where should I eat sushi tonight?" and then it gave you three answers, and you're like, "I don't get the hype, Danielle. It's just a glorified Google search." Please go back to it. Okay. Please get
Yes.
involved. Listen to Danielle's podcast. Check out her courses because there is a revolution that is happening right now and it will change the way that business is done, much like what happened with electricity and oil and the internet.
I love that. And actually it's funny because when I teach a lot of the mastering ChatGPT classes, that's how people are still using ChatGPT, like a Google search. And I show them all of the different ways that they can use it to increase productivity. And a lot of people are scared. They're like, oh, is AI going to replace me? Well, AI is going to, in my personal opinion, replace the people that don't adopt AI, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that is who it's going to replace, not, and everybody in general. So
Yeah.
let's talk about ChatGPT and Claude. Are you, and let's bring it down a little bit because you and I can probably have these higher level conversations, but a lot of people listening
Yeah.
still might not even know about Claude. So are
Yeah.
you using both?
Oh yeah.
And for what are the different things that you would use ChatGPT for over Claude?
Yeah. So I'll try to like explain this in like non-technical terms. And honestly, I think that's why I get a lot of requests to come on podcasts and speak at events is because I have a blue collar background. My first business was being in lawn care. My uncles did HVAC and plumbing. So like I'm not a tech bro. I live on my farm in Kentucky, right? And like it's not a this isn't a Silicon Valley company. We're actually still bootstrapped. We're in the middle of raising a $5 million round, but we're bootstrapped up to this point. We use it for everything, and I use all of them. It's kind of like this is the analogy that I give a lot of people is that aren't on a paid plan because I think that's one of the biggest things that's holding a lot of people back, or that they get bad results. Right? I had a lady tell me the other day on a podcast that I was on. She said, "Yeah, I just got rid of ChatGPT and moved to Claude because ChatGPT just wasn't doing very good research. It was giving me half baked answers." And I was like, "Well, what subscription level are you on?" They said, "Oh, I was on the $20 a month plan." I was like, "Okay, we'll go to the $200 a month plan, put it in pro research thinking, deep thinking, and I've had it run for over 16 minutes working on an answer before it gives it to me.
Yes.
And so again, you have to know how to use the model, right? It's kind of like if you got in a vehicle that was a stick shift and you didn't know to shift gears and you drove it only in first gear. You're like, this thing's not very fast. It's just like revs up and only goes 10 miles an hour. It's like you got to know how to shift gears. We use Gemini for a lot of research. It used to have the largest context window, which we can talk about that if you want, but it was a million token context window. Claude was at like 300,000 tokens, but Claude's now at a million as well. So these models are moving so fast. It literally feels like something comes out it's not feels like it does. Something changes every single day with this shit. And so it's very difficult to stay ahead, which is why I kind of like have my fingers in all of them. So I've got Max Plan on Gemini. I've got Max Plan on Claude. I've got my Max Plan on ChatGPT. And then we have our own model, which is Allie. She's built on top of AWS Bedrock infrastructure. And so
So tell me about Allie. What is it?
yeah,
Alli?
ALLI.
Okay.
So it's just
Dot
AI with two
AI.
L's in it. Yeah, it's just two. It's actually hireally.com. So we call her your first AI team member. I saw this, I told you guys I got on ChatGPT in November 2022. My daughter was born in April of 23. And while I was at home with my wife, I had this like epiphany and I said, holy smokes, man, these things are going to be team members. And it was like, that was when you very first started kind of hearing about agentic AI, right? It's very much a buzzword now in AI agents. But back then, gosh, 3 years ago, which seems like yesterday, there just wasn't a lot of talk about it. And so I went to my team and I said, guys, we're going to build Allie. She's going to run all of the internal business operations. And like, that's going to be our AI platform. Danielle, they looked at me like I had six heads because they're like, who the fuck is Allie? What are you talking
Yeah.
about? Exactly. They're like, we're a marketing agency, man. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, this is going to be the future. And like most visionaries, right? You can see way down the road and around the corner when the rest of your team can't.
I
And
just
that's
thought
why.
of your theme song, by the way.
Yeah,
You know
okay.
that song that's like, Alice, Alice, who the fuck is Alice?
No.
Oh, I forget where I was. I think I was at I don't remember. Like I was on vacation, obviously, somewhere. And I think it was in London, and the entire bar was
I'm gonna
singing
write
this
that
song.
down.
Yeah, you have to look it up.
All right.
I think
That's
that's going to be
funny.
your new theme song. But anyways,
Yeah. We can use AI to remake it and have it say Allie.
yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly.
yeah, so the platform that we have customer facing, she maximizes your website, your phone system, and your social media. So she can set
And
up
you
and
built it on
run.
what?
And
Claude?
I'm sorry, what's
Did you build that on Claude or what platform?
no, it's custom. It's a custom trained AWS model. So
Wow.
yeah, we've used Claude to help us build it. We've used ChatGPT to help us build it. She has access to API keys for all three of the major ones. So ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. So if she wants to use one of those models, she can. But she has her own model that she's been fine tuned on. 3,500 of our sales and support calls that we've recorded. I've got my Fathom note taker in here. Shout out to Fathom, love them. But we took the transcripts and it took us about 4.5 days to train her on all of those calls. But what was beautiful is like when she woke up, if you will, it was
Hmm.
like, she's like, go ahead. What do you need? Right. I'm like, tell me about Anne Marie on our team. And she was like, oh, well, I can see from these transcripts from the internal calls and the client calls, like, here's who Anne Marie is on the team, and had all of that context. And it was amazing. And so we use her for a lot of stuff internally, but for clients, she does three major things: runs your social media. She can build your website if you don't have one already, but then she'll manage it and she can identify anonymous website visitors, which is pretty cool. So one out of every three mobile website visitors, she can get you their name, phone number, email address, and home address. And then the voice capabilities, which is where, I think is a massive one for small businesses to not miss phone calls, right? You spend a lot of time, effort, and money to make people call you, and then you miss that call. It's one of like the biggest holes that I see in small businesses. And so that technology's not been great. I'll be truly transparent. Up until this year, if you guys had ever talked to a voice agent and there was this long pause, or it starts talking, you try to interrupt it and it won't shut up, right? It just keeps going and going and going. And you're like, human, right?
Oh, right.
The challenge with that is because it went from audio to text went to the model outputs text, and then they got to turn it back into audio, right? And so that's latency and it takes a while. Allie is one of the first of her kind. She has true streaming audio. So if you call in and you're really excited, she can hear that in your voice. If you're pissed off, she can hear that in your voice.
Does she mirror and match?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. She's and I think one of the coolest things, and this is probably just where I'm not a tech bro, Danielle, is like her brand blueprint. We spent a lot of time and effort and energy on. When she fires up to answer the phones for somebody, the first prompt that gets loaded is her brand blueprint. And we tell her that she has the pioneering spirit of an Amelia Earhart. She has the technical prowess of an Ada Lovelace, one of the first computer programmers and mathematicians. We say that she has the warm empathy of Oprah and has the solutions like your long lost Kentucky cousin who talks with her hands and is always there for you. And she's not witty, but she's sharp, right? And like all of these things, the reason why we did this is because I had a breakthrough where I was like, hey, it only knows what you tell it, right? Sure, It's trained on all of the internet, but it only knows what you tell it. And so it was really cool to see the difference in how she sounded after we did the brand blueprint on top of it versus just the basic training. My favorite one is that she has a desire to save small businesses like Harriet Tubman. And so she, we really have spent a lot of time, effort, and energy on the brand. I'm a brand guy, but it was cool to see it come to life in ones and zeros inside of an AI model too.
It's so important to have that. I mean, I have several AI agents that either answer my phone calls, my text messages, my DMs, and it's so funny because they are spot on. And half of the people, like 80% of the people, don't even know that they're dealing with AI.
Yeah.
Including my clients that are on my Done by One CRM, and they have the same capabilities to use for their clients, and they're still talking to my AI agents like they're talking to me or my assistant.
It's wild. It is so crazy. And I'll tell you right now, like I saw a study the other day that Gen Zers, 60% of Gen Zers, when they were surveyed, said that they would expect by the end of this decade, they will expect the businesses that they do business with, right, where their customers at, to use AI to create a better customer service experience, right? And they're not giving you the answer. They expect you, the business owner, to figure it out. But they will expect by the end of this decade that you're using AI in a way that they don't have to sit on the phone with Linda for 9 minutes while she like looks up your CRM stuff.
Yeah.
That an AI agent will get them in and out of a call in 3 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. Speed to lead. So let's talk about traffic and funnels because I did notice that. And here's a big thing because I work with a lot of real estate agents, sales professionals, and entrepreneurs. In fact, you mentioned service-based businesses. My husband's in the construction industry. And I'm meeting with him. He keeps wanting me to help fix his, all of this stuff with AI agents. And I'm like, we need a meeting. So I'm meeting with him after this to help him.
There you go.
But so here's the biggest thing, right? We can all create a lead magnet, we can all create a landing page, we can all create, things to basically build funnels. But the biggest thing is the traffic. So what are some ways that you can organically, because not everybody has 10 grand a month or 5 grand a month to spend in advertising. So what are some other ways that you can drive traffic to funnels without spending a ton of money?
So this is something I've been screaming from the rooftops since 2016. I ran my first Facebook ad in 2013. So a long time ago, in the good old days when there was a lot of targeting that you could do. I would tell you it doesn't take $10,000 a month in advertising. You can become locally famous for a few $100s a month. You know, you could spend $100 a week, which again is not a lot of money when it comes to advertising. I think sometimes small business owners, they kind of live in la la land a little bit, right? Like they think they can spend $1,000 a month on advertising and that's going to get them $1 million a year in business. Like
Right.
if it was that easy, everybody would do it, right? And it
Exactly.
just doesn't work like that. And so, for me, like I'm looking at my Instagram right now, one of the easiest ways to do it is to hop on trends. If you don't want to do paid, there was a kid that just kind of went viral a couple days ago. He made a rap about Ashley Furniture. And so like he was at work and he was like making a little rap about Ashley Furniture. 4 million views on TikTok. He had like a million, it was about 700,000 when I caught it on Instagram. And I said, this is going to blow up. And so I basically did a green screen video, right, of it. And so if you guys are watching the video, you'll see this where basically I took his video and I sequenced it on Instagram. So I let the first like 7 seconds, five to 7 seconds play because he went viral for a reason. He had a really good hook in his video, right? It's him rapping. So then people see that and they're like, what is this? And then boom, I break in and it's now I'm on a green screen with his funny face in the background.
I love
And I'm
that.
like, Ashley Furniture just fumbled the biggest marketing bag of the year, right? And my name's Coach Carroll. I'm going to tell you about it. And so that video is at 137,000 views on my Instagram right now. I've only got about 30,000 followers, so most of that traffic is people that don't follow me. And so if you can hop on trends like that, that's a great way to not have to spend any money, but you will spend time
Right.
because you've got to be close to the pulse to know what's happening. So
Exactly.
business is just a trade-off game. You can trade your dollars for your time or your time for your dollars. But I think making content, and then the second one would be, especially if you're a realtor, you're a local service business, get engaged with your local community, man. Like
Yeah.
become famous. I always call it 5 mile famous, man. Like become famous in the 5 miles around, or like in the zip code that you work in the most, or wherever you're doing the most business. And if you're on B2B, then you should be on LinkedIn. Like I wouldn't even mess with Facebook or Instagram. It's
Hmm.
hard. It's too hard to try to zero those people in. But on LinkedIn, you can become a thought leader, if you will. And so those are a couple of ways that I think you could, not have a gazillion-dollar marketing budget, but still be able to drive traffic. Now, that doesn't fix, if you have a bad hook, there's no value in your content, and you have a shitty CTA, call to action, like, okay, well, none of that's, it doesn't matter how much content you make, it's not going to work.
Right.
And so those three things also have to be true.
So let me ask you a question. And if I know this is like kind of off the cuff and just so if you don't know the answer or can't come up with it, but what would a good, because we're talking about AI agents, right? And so AI agents can fix your social media, come up with your content, come up with your SEO strategy, come up with those hooks. So then
Mhm.
what a lot of people don't know, especially if they're just starting out with ChatGPT, is the prompting is really what separates you from every other person using that. And I'll give you an example. My daughter goes to the University of Miami and she goes to class and the teacher pulls up whatever their homework was or whatever and then pulls up all of the answers to this homework and everybody had the same answer, which means that everybody went to chat gpt and put in. So I explained to her, and I actually created a custom GPT for her so she can do her work with her brand voice within that custom GPT because
Smart.
the prompting is what's going to, separate you. So
Yep.
let's say you're building an AI agent, whether let's use Claude, for example, and you want Claude to create your content, come up with your social media strategy,
Mhm.
and find out what would a good prompt be for that.
Um, so it's I think it's more than the prompt, because if the model has no background on you, and this is why like people that have been creating content for the last decade, dude, we have such a leg up on everybody else because I can just go point ChatGPT to my YouTube transcripts or tell Claude Code to
Right.
like go transcribe my YouTube videos and learn my tonality and my voice. If you don't have that, before I'd get into the prompt, I would do this step first. There's a good hook. If you don't have, yeah, that's good. have to have the team cut that one out of there. I would do this part first. I would go to ChatGPT or Claude, pick your flavor, doesn't matter, and say, "Hey, my name's Coach Carroll. I help service businesses make more money by weaponizing AI. Ask me 50 questions that I can answer for you so that you can build out my brand voice blueprint so that you would know in the future how to write the responses that would then sound like me." Right. And then ChatGPT is going to give you 50 questions. You'll put it in voice mode and you'll just answer those questions. And then after you answer the questions, ask it, do you have any follow-up questions? It may have some additional ones, right? Or it might say, hey, tell me a time or whatever. If you really want to take this next level, you say, give me 10 questions that would prompt me to tell you stories that you could use. And so then it would capture, 10 to 15 stories. Now it has all of that. You say, okay, now put all of that into a canvas. And I know you know what a canvas is, but the number of people, this came out like late last year, the number of people that still don't know what a canvas is inside of a ChatGPT where you can edit real time with it, mind blowing. So it'll open up an editable document inside of ChatGPT and it'll give you this brand blueprint, right? Then you go through and you read it. You go, oh, that's right. That's wrong. That needs to be worked on a little bit. All right, cool. I got it. You'll then export that as like a PDF and you'll save that as your brand blueprint document. That's your voice. Now we go back to ChatGPT and you say, hey, I need you to make me my 5 social media posts that I'll put on Facebook this week. See the attached document for reference. And then you attach that multi-page PDF that has all those answers, all those questions you did. That then gives the model the context that it needs to then give you a really good output. That is how I would work that flow. On top of that, I'll tell you all prompts need a certain level of a few things. First, you got to tell it who it is, right? So you're going to say, hey, you're my chief marketing strategist that is a specialist in social media. Second, you're going to say, here's what I need from you. Don't tell it what to do. Tell it what outcome you need from it, right? So it's like, here's the outcome. Then tell it what the output needs to be, right? It needs to be a short form for Twitter. It needs to be a long form for LinkedIn, whatever it may. A lot of you guys get aggravated with ChatGPT because you ask it a question, it gives you a 3-paragraph answer. You're like, dude, I just wanted yes or no. It's like, well, you should have specified. Just give me a yes or no answer, right? And then lastly is like always say, what are questions that you need me to answer for clarity, right? And so like that's how I would structure my prompt. That's the 10-80-10 framework I built out. That's the 10% that goes in. You let the model do the 80%, and then 10% on the backside is you actually reviewing it to make sure that it's right, so that you and your classmates don't all turn in the same answer.
Well, and I just want to say what you said like 5 minutes ago was gold. So if anybody's watching this, rewind this 5 minutes because that initial prompt and framework is huge in the 50 questions. And the thing with ChatGPT is that it will then start to know you. I'll give you an example. Today I do my LinkedIn newsletters in ChatGPT. It did my LinkedIn newsletter and then it asked me at the bottom, do you want me to bring up what happened to you in 2008? Because it knows that the market crashed and it remembers my story and blah, 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 blah. So, and actually what I did was I wrote a book. It's on Amazon, Real Estate Secrets Unlocked. I uploaded the book to ChatGPT so that way it gets my brand voice. But what you can also do as we're on this social media content creation section is I have ChatGPT email me every single Monday morning my content for the entire week. And then all I do is copy paste post is like my little because a lot of people have analysis paralysis and that's what makes them not consistent. And that's how AI can keep you consistent, can keep, help you build your brand. Takes a lot of the guesswork out for you, out of it.
Sure. There's and again, depending on how technically advanced you want to get on this, you can have Claude Code. If you use Claude Code inside of your terminal, you can give it your Meta API token, and it will literally post for you through the API.
Awesome.
It can post images, and now it can post videos as well to Instagram through an API token. So it also can create your ads that way as well. If I've got some really cool tools. I'll give your listeners for free. If you guys just come follow me on Instagram, DJ_Carroll, CARROLL. Just DM me, say, hey, I heard you on Danielle's podcast. Can I get those tools? And I'll send them over to you.
Okay, awesome. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being on. There was so many great little, nuggets here today. So I really, really appreciate it.
For sure.
And yeah, so let everybody once again know how they can find you.
Yeah, just go to coachcarroll.com. That's where you can find more about me. You can get links to the book. All my social channels are on there. We post content across all the major channels. So no matter if you're looking for short form, 15-second Coach Carroll or long form, 30-minute video on YouTube, we've got everything for you over there, coachcarroll.com. And you guys make sure you go, if you enjoyed this podcast, go leave a review for Danielle and share it out to your friends so that she can get this podcast in front of more people and help more people like you that are listening right now.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. So go buy his book. Barnes and Noble's coming up.
Yeah. So Barnes & Noble's, it's on Amazon, or, I'd appreciate it if you buy it through coachcarroll.com. I make a little more money. I had to cut in Bezos on that. So that dude's already got enough money anyway. So
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
spending billions of dollars blowing up rockets. He'll be okay without the $12 cut.
And buying mansions in Miami. So
yeah, I saw that as well. And he's got, I went fishing in Fort Lauderdale and I saw, this has been a couple years ago, and I saw him, and then Steven Spielberg has a massive freaking yacht as well. I'll tell you what, Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, there are some big boats down there.
Oh, yeah.
But thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It was fun. Would love to come back and do it again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
If today's episode opened your eyes to what's possible with AI and automation, here's the next step. At Done by One, we help entrepreneurs and sales professionals audit, automate, and implement AI into their business without the overwhelm. You can book a business audit to see where you need to implement AI and automation. Get set up with the Done by One CRM to run your business on autopilot, or take our AI courses to build your own AI tools and assistants. Do not wait until you're playing catch up. Head on over to Done by One at donebyone.ai and take action today, because the businesses that implement AI now are the ones that will win tomorrow. And remember, let's be done and be done by one.